If you hear mysterious noises and sounds, if you hear your name called when there's no one around, keep going, dear listener. This story is for you. I hope it will accomplish what I wrote it to do. In these words, you will find all the tools you'll need, so that when you're faced with unimaginable things, you won't react with fear, as most people do. You'll be equipped, calm, and able to see the truth. My best, Hedy. This is what we keep hidden. By Lauren Nicole. Chapter 1. Cowpig. Now this whole otherworldly confuzzlement of a situation started when we moved into our new house. At first, it was just Mrs. Mom, Lucy, and I there. You see, we had just moved out of the city since it was getting too cramped in our apartment, now that I was getting older and Lucy was getting bigger. When Mr. Dad came home after being on the road with his band, it was even more apparent that the space was just too small.
Whoa!
Mr. Dad shouted as he precariously balanced the stack of cardboard boxes in his hands. Each marked Hedy in smelly marker. You know, the kind that makes your eyes burn when you take off the cap. "Careful!" I yelled. "That's my radio in there!" "Don't worry," he called reassuringly as he steadied the leaning tower of boxes over his head. I got it. "Here," I said, reaching for the top box. "Let me help." After we loaded the last boxes into the moving truck, I turned around to take one last look at the only home I'd ever known. "Thanks," I whispered. The city had always been overwhelming for me. The people, the noises, the smells. Mrs. Mom and Mr. Dad had decided it would be best for all of us to get out somewhere where we could stretch and run. Someplace easier for me to be a kid. My parents decided to make the move in summer. That way, we would all escape the stifling heat of the city, and I could be settled before the start of the school year. I had just finished 6th grade, so I'd be going to a new middle school in the fall. Whether this school was in the city or our new neighborhood made no difference to me. Our house was what you would call a fixer-upper, but that was the only way we could afford such a big house with a lot of land. We all had to pitch in on weekends to bring it up to livable standards before we could even move in. Even Lucy would carry buckets of materials and hand me tools while I worked. Working on the house before we moved in made the whole transition easier, as I, for one, hated change. New places to live were always so taxing. New layouts and landscapes, new creaks and thumps, new mazes to find yourself trapped in the middle of the pitch black night while you're urgently looking for the bathroom half asleep. Mrs. Mom would leave a colorful trail of sticky notes on the walls while we were fixing the place. Her version of wayfinding signs for her wayward child. Bathroom, this way. Kitchen, downstairs. Your room, behind you. This gave me the chance to become familiar with the house. A chance to meet before just abruptly moving in. Once I was secure with my surroundings, I could find the true freedom to explore the world through my different theories and experiments. This house felt different. From the moment we walked in, it was like it had already been our home for years. Since Mr. Dad had instilled a love of curiosity in me, I could sit in my room for hours at my desk, taking things apart just to put them back together again. We would walk around discussing the things we found on our journey and the systems behind the scenes that made them work. We discussed everything, from lampposts and electricity to leaves and photosynthesis. This house was the biggest project I had ever worked on, and we were putting it back together as a family, I think that's why I still have a deep love for it to this day. Eventually, there came a point when all the tasks Lucy and I could help with were done. Mr. Jad suggested we go out and do a bit of exploring. Handing me some money, he told me about the local little market just up the road and told us to check it out and bring back some sandwiches. I grabbed my tan raincoat and Lucy's vest, put the coat on me and the vest on her. Then we headed out the door. Lucy was a kind and nurturing soul. Always by my side, she reminded me when it was time to eat, when to take my medication, and even when to get up for a stretch and a bit of movement when I had been working at my desk too long. She understood me like no one else. We could spend hours in complete silence, yet know exactly what the other was thinking. I could not imagine my childhood without her. When we continuously found her curled up, asleep, under my raincoat, we thought she might want one of her very own. Since the smallest size available was still too big for her, I found some matching fabric and fashioned a little vest for her with really deep pockets. On our outings, Lucy would perk up every time I filled both of our pockets with the many treasures we found along the way. As we made our way down the road, the little red building with dilapidated wood planking made its appearance. Faded white letters said "Market" above the door. "We made it," I told Lucy. She nodded back. A faint tinkling of a bell sounded as we opened the door. "Well, hi there," boomed a cheery southern drawl. Startled, I felt like I jumped a few feet in the air. "Oh, sorry, dear. I didn't mean to scare you. I'm Audrey. I own the place," the woman explained as she came out from behind the counter. "You and your family just bought the old house at the end of the road, right? I met your folks a few days ago. Ah, sweethearts, the both of them." Spying Lucy, she exclaimed, "And who is this sweet thing?" Yeah, that's us. I'm Hedy," I smiled, catching my bearings. "And this is Lucy." Audrey crouched down and started scratching under Lucy's chin as she closed her eyes and gave Audrey the biggest smile. "Aren't you just adorable in your little vest? What kind of dog is she?" "A cow pig," I answered. Audrey stopped scratching Lucy and stared at me with a quizzical look on her face. "A what now?" "She's a hybrid. Half cow, half pig. That's why she's got the coloring of a cow and the body of a pig. Mrs. Mom paid a lot of money to get her for me." "I see." Lucy nudged Audrey's hand for more pets. "Well, whatever you are, you're just the cutest thing." Taking Lucy's face in both hands, Audrey squished her cheeks and gave her a big squeaky kiss on the forehead. "We think so too," I beamed. "Wait right here," Audrey said as she stood up. "I've got something for the both of you." Audrey went through a door in the back and came out with some fun-sized candy bars and a biscuit shaped like a bone. "I keep a jar of these candies in the back, you know, for snacking." Audrey giggled as she handed me the little chocolate pieces. "And this one's for you." She reached out her hand with the dog treat, then pulled it back quickly. "Cow pigs can have dog treats, right?" she asked me. "Of course," I answered as I ripped the crinkly silver wrapper open. "She's a super picky eater, though. Don't know if she'll want it." Audrey put out her hand with the dog biscuit, and Lucy gave it a sniff and turned away. "Oh, come now," Audrey coaxed. "How do you know if you don't like it if you won't try it?" Lucy gave the biscuit a lick, took the treat in her mouth, then spit it out on the floor. "Told you," I said through a mouthful of chocolate. Well, there's no harm in trying. Audrey laughed as she picked the biscuit up off the floor and threw it in the trash. So tell me, darling, why on earth are you wearing a rain slicker on this beautiful sunny day when there ain't even a cloud in sight? Oh, this? I glanced down at my raincoat. It's not for the weather. I like the pockets. How funny. Tell your mama it's time to get you a little purse of your own. I smirked at Audrey's answer while I looked at the menu on the wall behind her. I didn't want a purse. Why did everyone always tell me that? I thought. Anyways, what brings you in, dear? Mr. Dad asked me to get some sandwiches for lunch. Did you just call your father Mr. Dad? Mm-hmm. I shrugged. Well, in all my years, never heard of that one before. Isn't that just the cutest thing? Audrey exclaimed as she waved her hand. Well, all right, dear. What can I get started for you? I stared at the menu, lost in all its possible choices and options. I'll let you in on a little secret. Number 4 is my favorite, Audrey said, sensing my overwhelm. Okay. Yeah, I'll take 3 number 4s then. Wonderful. That'll be $10.27, dear. Audrey smiled as I handed her the crumpled wad of dollars from my coat pocket. Here, why don't you take a couple of these too? Audrey handed me my change with a stack of cookies in clear cellophane wrappers. Their crinkle hurt my ears as they squeaked against each other. Thank you, I said, trying to ignore the sound. I placed the cookies in Lucy's vest pockets while I waited for the order. Once the sandwiches were ready, it was a tight squeeze to fit everything in, but we made it work. You gals have a good day now, Audrey said as she walked with us to the front door. And tell your parents I said hi. Thank you. We will, I called back as we headed up the road. Lucy happily jaunted along the path, obviously looking forward to all the scraps she was going to get from lunch. Her happy little wiggle, as cute as it was, tousled the wrappers of the cookies way more than necessary. I groaned. The sound was incessant and felt like it was grating against my eardrums. The sun was at its highest point in the sky and made all of our surroundings unbearably bright. I grabbed the hood of my raincoat and pulled it low over my head to shade my eyes from the sun's piercing rays. The hood only created more of an echo of that awful cookie wrapper crinkle. The faster we got home, the faster that crinkle would stop. Our driveway was finally in view when Lucy sniffed the inside of my knee. She stood in front of me and stopped to block my path. She placed her head firmly on my thigh, pushing her chin down into my muscles. Her telltale signal that I needed to stop moving and sit down. Oh, crap, I muttered. Not yet. We were so close to home. I started to trot towards the house, and Lucy persisted in her effort to block my way. Finally, I reached the driveway and started making my way up to the house when I felt the all-too-familiar sensation begin to buzz around my fingers. Slowly, the same tingling, numbing sensation made its way down my legs and into my toes before I stumbled a few feet from the porch. Lucy quickly got behind me, standing rigidly and bracing me at the back of my legs, giving me the support I needed to steady myself as my legs stumbled from their new lead-heavy weight. I shakily put a hand on her back and eased myself down to the floor. As I lay back, I heard Lucy give 2 loud alarm barks. I turned my head away from the brightness of the high noon sun just in time to see the front door open before my eyes closed. Thank you for joining us on this episode of What We Keep Hidden. Written, narrated, and produced by Lauren Nicole. Tune in next time to see what happens with Hedy and Lucy. This has been a Lauren Nicole creation.